close. So close. Oh. Do you have a Band-Aid? Because I scraped my knee when I fell for you. Get it? Because pickup lines, they're pretty annoying. So I was explaining a joke. Hiya folks, Fruit and Doggy here. Today to talk about aggravations and annoyances. I got the order right this time. And what's on my mind today is what I'm calling temperature imbalance. And what I'm really trying to get at is when the temperature, your surroundings, doesn't quite feel comfortable. And despite what you try to do, you can't get it to be in that perfect, happy little place. If you put on a sweater, if you change your attire, or in the other direction, it's like, hey, let me take this sweater off, let's go to shorts. You start going too far in the other direction. So it's like, oh man, I'm chilly. Let me put on a sweater. As soon as you put the sweater on, it's like, oh. Well, not as soon as. It's not that immediate. But a minute or two later, a couple minutes down the road, it's like, oh, okay. This is a little too toasty. So you have to take the sweater back off. A few minutes later, you start feeling cold again. And I don't know what causes that to happen. It's such a minute thing, but it really does suck when you can't get comfortable. And I think it's noteworthy because most of the time, at least for myself, I don't really notice the temperature around me. I'm usually fairly comfortable. Now, I will admit, I handle the cold much better, probably because I'm a larger male. One, I'm a man. Men tend to deal with the cold better. And then I am larger. I have a lot of insulation here, so I can bear the brunt of the cold no problems. And quite frankly, I enjoy the winter weather. I enjoy a nice, brisk, chilly day. The heat, on the other hand, drains and kills me. And I have fair, I'm assuming, Irish skin. So, not only does the heat bother me, the sun is not my friend either. So I will admit that if it starts getting too hot, I need circulation. I need a fan on, I need air conditioning, I need something to beat the heat. And frankly, I actually had to leave my last job because the office temperature was just too high. It always seemed to be hot, and I had a fan on, and I would still just be dying. But anyways, whether it's you're the exact opposite of me, you're the same as me, it is really distracting and uncomfortable, and it just sucks. I already said that, but it's really unpleasant when you can't get comfortable. And for me, when I'm too hot, I can't focus. I am merely trying to keep my energy levels low. I'm trying to avoid heating myself up, getting my own body temperature up. I'm just trying to stay cool. And so my mind is focused on the uncomfort and the suffering of being too hot. And I'm sure that's true for people on the other side who, I am so cold, I am chilly, I'm shivering and shaking, and you're so busy trying to huddle up, rub your hands together, get that heat going, and bundle up that how can you get anything done? You can't focus any better than I can when I'm dying of heat, and I'm like, ugh. So that's one thing when it's out of your control, and that can be very annoying. But I guess what I'm thinking about is when it keeps going back and forth, that seems even worse. Because if I'm too hot and I have any control over the situation, then I can make some adjustments and I can make some changes until I start to cool down and I feel better. Or vice versa. If I'm cold, I can layer up, I can bundle up, I can address that. But if I keep making those adjustments and then it goes against me and I start going the other direction, I'm kind of stuck and I don't know what's wrong. And I don't know. I have to imagine that's happened for other people as well. But I'm just kind of curious what people do when they find themselves going back and forth in that situation. At that point, do you just say, okay, I need to adjust the central air and heat? Do I need to, instead of changing my attire, maybe I need to put on that fan? Or even that's not really working because, again, it's the same issue. It's changing the temperature a little too far that it's not comfortable anymore. And actually, what's funny about that is that reminds me of a time when I was a kid and I was sick as a dog. I remember this very clearly, and it was the exact same thing I described earlier where, well, I'll go into the specifics. I would, for instance, put on the blanket. I would bundle up, and it was almost instantly I would start feeling hot. It was a very short, a few seconds under that blanket, and I would start feeling like I was roasting. I would have to take it off. And then with the blanket off, I would start to cool down, but very quickly it's like, oh man, I'm getting cold. That was one of the sickest times I can remember, especially as a kid, and it was this sensation taken to an extreme. It was miserable. I was a very unhappy kid, and all I can remember is that sensation, and I think what must have happened is I must have fallen asleep. I must have hit a point where, I was just so sick and so out of energy, I just passed out, and I don't think that sensation lasted long. I don't remember that being a several days ordeal. It seemed like that specific symptom was very brief, but yeah, that's just something that has happened to me where I think the thing that annoys me is when I keep trying to fix the problem and it doesn't work or works too well, and it's like, well, that's my go-to. That's what I do when I'm too cold or I'm too hot. What am I supposed to do when it is too effective and that doesn't work anymore? Oh, but thankfully this is a very infrequent problem. This only seems to come up maybe on very ambivalent, middle-of-the-road kind of days where it's just slightly off. It's not too hot, it's not too cold, but it's just a little bit. And it's just enough to throw your whole day off. I don't know. Again, I'm not sure what causes this. And again, it's a sensation, so it might all be in my own head. It might just be how I am experiencing that day. Who knows? I'm just glad it doesn't come up very often, or else I'd probably go batty. But anyways, that's been me talking about temperature. I mean, just a riveting topic to really get you through your Monday. But that'll be the end of the video. Thank you for watching, and as always, fruit and doggy, folks. This video did turn out to be quite a bit shorter than I had first guessed, so in order to stretch things out, I thought I'd bring up another idea or two related to temperatures and things that annoy me about them. As I already sort of implied or hinted at, it is annoying when you're trying to handle the temperature, you put on a sweater, so on and so forth. But actually what can be a more aggravating combo is when you're the type of person, as I am, that you can handle the cold easily, but you don't handle hot temperatures, and then you get paired off with your exact opposite in a situation. And that doesn't tend to work very well, as all of us are familiar with and can understand. It's not the end of the world by any means, but on my side of things, it does annoy me a bit more because the person who is feeling a little cool, they're a little chilly, a little cold, really, there is a very simple solution to that problem. Put on a sweater. I mean, I understand that's maybe not always the first thing that you want to do. just to find that kind of comfortable place to get to a temperature that you're happy with. But it's so simplistic. It's not a negative action at all. And if you have a comfortable sweater, it's somewhat enjoyable. As for myself, I have a pretty good number of sweaters, and I don't really have a lot of opportunities to wear them. So I just don't really get why that would really bother somebody so much to just be told, hey, can you just put on a sweater? It's not that big a deal. I understand you're a bit cold, but that's a pretty workable, simple solution. And if they get upset about that and they insist that the temperature change, well, that may or may not be so feasible. Or it might make things uncomfortable for me. Well, I'm already a little on the warm side. So if we're going to start bumping the temperature, now I'm going to get hot. And I don't have much choice in that matter. Assuming I'm already wearing fairly comfortable, normal clothes. I mean, unless you want to see more than I really want to show, there's not much I can do about that. That wouldn't impact you. I would have to put on a fan, and that's going to lower the temperature, and then you're not going to be happy about that. Then we're back to square one. So, I don't know. To me, that's just one of those things that does annoy me, is the person who's cold refusing to take the basic offering up that's available to them. I mean, I understand that it would be uncomfortable. That would be, not uncomfortable, it'd be annoying, always having to bring a sweater, always having to put it on. But, big deal. I don't know. The reason I guess it doesn't bother me is when it's wintertime, I tend to heat the house only to the point that it's comfortable, but I'll put on a sweater if I start getting chilly instead of bumping up the temperature 2 or 3 degrees. I mean, when you have to pay for the heat yourself, you're a little bit more mindful of that. And at least where I lived, we had a pretty long, cold winter this year, and my bills were a bit higher than I was really happy with. That's just life. That's acceptable. I expect to pay more in the winter, basically, and conversely the summer for my temperature control, but don't want to have to push it any more than I need to, and if I can make myself comfortable popping on a sweater, I'm going to do that instead of spend money to heat the whole house. I'm the only thing that's cold. You know, why use all the energy? And what's especially funny about that is the whole concept of, hey, shouldn't we be doing more for the environment? So if I'm not cranking up the heat, isn't that better? You know, not using the gas, not using the energy or electricity. Using what a resource widely available to all of us, clothing. But just thought I'd mention that. It's a related subject. And I suppose this one is a little more divisive because now I've created a rift and I've taken a side. So hopefully there's not hopefully there isn't this strongly felt dynamic that I wasn't aware of, and I've just opened up a can of worms and there's going to be this huge argument going on. It's like, I don't know. It's the internet, and people are people. I have no idea what to expect. I just hope it's not crazy. But anyways, just wanted to add that in there. Have a good one. Stay warm/cold. Stay comfortable.